I am live, according to YouTube. I, Gordon Causey, and Candy the Wonder Pup, who should have been named COVID because we got her on March 18th of 2020, the day when lockdown started within a day or two. Either started on the 17th or 18th. So we should have named her COVID or Corona. Yeah, good girl. Good girl. Laterally, the name I thought we should have given her was because of the, see her stripe? I should have called her Stripe. You're a good girl. And as if you've been on this channel before, you know I give her a treat at the start of every video. So speak. 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 There we go. Come on. Show off that stripe. There you go. Anyway, today it's Friday now, very early in the morning, Friday, June 21st, 2024. And I wanted to do a quick video highlighting something in case it's something that could be missed. And I don't think it matters just to Canadians, although certainly matters a lot to Canadians. There is a by-election taking place in a riding called Toronto-St. Paul. And the voting takes place on Monday, the 24th. So we are days away from what I view as a potentially incredibly significant little by-election taking place. And this riding, Toronto-St. Paul's, is just about as safe a Liberal seat as you could want to find in Canada. It has been Liberal red for 30 odd years, going back 30 years. Liberal, it's been a Liberal stronghold. I've made the remark before that there are ridings in Canada, predominantly out west, where you could run a bale of hay for the Conservatives and the bale of hay would win. And likewise, there are ridings that are so staunchly Liberal that if a fire hydrant ran, it would win, provided it was a Liberal fire hydrant. Well, go lay down. Well, this is about as safe a Liberal riding as you're going to find in this country. And this by-election, though, looks like there is at least strong potential that the Conservatives could actually win it because Trudeau is so hated in this country. For those unfamiliar, if you're not Canadian, the way our system of democracy works, this Westminster parliamentary model, Canadians do not get to vote directly for the Prime Minister. Our House of Commons operates in a similar fashion to the U.S. House of Representatives. We have, as things currently stand, 338 seats in our legislature, in our House of Commons, and whichever party wins the most seats, they are the governing party, and whoever happens to be their leader becomes the Prime Minister. So the only people who get to vote for Justin Trudeau, he runs, the leader of every party has to run in a specific riding somewhere in Canada. Justin Trudeau runs in his riding is one called Papineau, which is somewhere in Montreal. I think it's in the east end of I think it's in the east end of Montreal. And so those voters in that riding, they get to vote to have Justin Trudeau as their MP if they want, as their member of parliament, the same way that when Americans hold their elections, they get to vote for a member of their House of Representatives. Canadians get to vote for a member of parliament. But in point of fact, it's not, the people of Papineau are not voting for Trudeau to be Prime Minister. They're simply voting for him to be their representative in Ottawa as their representative for this riding of Papineau. And then it is the Liberal Party itself, whoever the leader of the party happens to be, then occupies what's called the Prime Minister's office, or sometimes just the PMO, the acronym. Anyway, St. Paul, or not St. Paul, I keep wanting to call it, yeah, that's it, St. Paul. I keep wanting to call it Trinity for some reason. but it's not. It's called Toronto St. Paul is the name of the riding. They already, this past weekend, advanced polling opened up on the weekend, and they've already had over 10% of the eligible voters have already cast ballots. And that suggests to me that when voter turnout is that high in something like a by-election, that there is something of a groundswell of people voting against Trudeau. It's often been said by people smarter than me that Canadians, that we don't elect government so much, rather we kick governments out. And Canadians are in the mood to send Trudeau packing. And unfortunately, there is no requirement for Canada to have a federal election where all the seats are up for grabs until October of 2025. So we have nearly a year and a half left to go. However, what happened, the woman who held this seat for the Liberals has resigned her seat. I think she's getting an ambassadorship. It doesn't matter. She's gone. So the riding of St. Paul has been left without a representative in Ottawa. So they have to hold a by-election. And it's looking, I've been doing some reading on it. The polling outfits like Ipsos, Angus Reid, Nanos, and more Main Street Research, they don't actually do polling on a riding by riding basis, but they have something of a tool that they use that they try and extrapolate out what the results would be in a specific riding. And what their tool suggests is that the margin between the difference between the Liberals and the Conservatives right now is only in the neighborhood of 5%, with the Liberals in front. Remember, this is about as safe a riding as you can get for the Liberals. And yet it's looking, in the last election, 2021, the Liberal candidate received almost 50% of the vote. Almost 50%. And yet Canada-wide, the Liberals got less than 33. So this is, again, as strong a Liberal seat as there is in the country in all likelihood. Try a couple others. West Island of Montreal is a big Liberal stronghold. They might get 50, 60% there as well. But if the Conservatives can manage to win this, what I am hopeful for is that Trudeau has to sit down at a table with his, I don't know how many members he has in his caucus. It's got to be 140, 160 or so. There are 160 or so Liberal members, including Trudeau himself. And they will sit together at a caucus table, and there is the potential for a caucus revolt. Because if the result of this election, if the Liberals lose it, his 160 odd members are going to be, they're going to be worried about their own jobs. You may recall that in, I can't remember exactly what election it was, but it was when Stephen Harper was prime minister and he ran against the Liberals being led by Michael Ignatieff. The Liberals were decimated and they were reduced to third or fourth party status. They won so few they won so few seats. I've got it up here. I can see what election that was. Wasn't 2015? Wasn't 2011? Okay, it was during the 2011 election, and the Liberals only managed to win 34 seats. Yeah, they were the third party. The official opposition became the NDP, after the 2011 election. And I think Michael Ignatieff had, you don't have to agree with his politics, but the man had an intellect. Trudeau has not. Trudeau's a moron, and yet he's doing better, or has done better than Ignatieff did. The Liberals are looking at being decimated in the next federal election, and this by-election coming up on Monday could serve as a huge shot across the bow of the ship of the Liberal Party. And we could see, we could see the caucus members, those 160 odd Liberals whose job is going to be on the line in the next federal election, finally waking up and coming to the realization that if we have Trudeau captaining the ship, this ship is going to sink, and we need to get rid of him. Hopefully, there's a good chance. If anyone is watching this, and if you live in this riding of St. Paul, Toronto St. Paul, and if you're a freedom-loving, conservative-minded Canadian who cherishes his or her liberty, well then get out and mark an X. There are actually, I think it's over 60 candidates running in this election. 60 candidates. There's an organization that is trying to make a joke of Canada's electoral system, and I forget the name of it, but they've registered, they put so many candidates on the ballot. So it's apparently 3 columns long. You're going to have like 20 plus candidates. It's like a 3-fold ballot. And anyone who doesn't have trust in the integrity of Canada's election system, if you haven't voted in a while, remember, in this country, we have paper ballots. We don't, federally, we don't use touchscreen. We don't use scanning your ballot. We don't have levers to pull. It's a piece of paper. Every candidate has a little circle next to their name. You mark an X in the circle corresponding to the candidate you want. And then that piece of paper is folded up and it is put into a cardboard box. And then when the polls close at 9 o'clock, usually 8, 9 o'clock, then those boxes are opened up, and each box represents a polling district. It might be 100 or so ballots in each box, 100 or so ballots in each box, and they are counted by hand. And each candidate running has the right to have someone there called a scrutineer who witnesses the counting, and they can actually, pardon my cough, they can actually object if they think there are ballots that where the person marking the X, that their intention wasn't clear, that they can make an objection. Usually 99.9% of the time, it's 100% perfectly clear who the person was intending to vote for. And most elections are not decided by 100 or 200, 300 votes. Most elections are pretty decisive. So even if there are a small number of disputed ballots in question, it's not going to impact the result. And so I do have faith in the integrity of the voting process. There are other things that go on behind the scene. There's influence. There's push polling. We've heard about foreign interference, about Chinese interests trying to influence the voting behaviors of Canadians. That's one issue. But when it comes down to simply marking an X on a piece of paper and then counting it, I have trust in the integrity of that voting process. That it's not like in the United States where they had that 2020 election where everyone went to bed thinking that Donald Trump was winning by hundreds of thousands of votes in Indiana, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, all these so-called swing states. And then everyone went to bed thinking Trump had been reelected president, and then they woke up in the morning and they found out, well, we just got a bunch of mail-in ballots, and in all the key battleground states, it flipped. It flipped, as if Democrats were the only ones afraid to cast a ballot. Democrats were the only ones influenced by all the COVID propaganda that, you got to be scared to death and you don't want to go near a polling station. It was only Democrats who were afraid. There were Republicans who were afraid too. And the notion that I don't buy it in 2020, more than fishy in my books. But it's neither here nor there. So again, if you live in Trinity, it's because I used to attend a church called Trinity St. Paul, and the riding is called St. Paul. It's not called Trinity. I keep wanting to say that because of a church I used to attend. It's called St. Paul riding, Toronto. If you live in that jurisdiction, downtown Toronto, liberal stronghold, and if you cherish freedom, if you challenge rights to things like freedom of speech, freedom of expression, get out and vote. I'm not going, you got 68 choices or so, 60, 70 choices of candidates to vote for. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I just want to do a quick video on that. The live chat is on. I see I do have 3 people watching at this ungodly hour. So if anyone wants to say something, go ahead. But the live chat is on. You can type away. I'll give it a minute or two. Crazy, crazy, crazy times that we are living in. We have the situation in Israel heating up again with Hezbollah, which is located primarily in Lebanon. And there's talk of all-out war between Tina Starry. Hey, hello back. Appreciate you just saying hi. I always like engagement. I don't think I've seen your name before. And I'm guessing you're probably something of a political junkie and probably a Canadian political junkie. Yeah, and whether you're in Toronto or not, that election, pay attention on Monday night, probably be about 9-10 p.m. They'll have the results, and expect to see a lot of press, especially if the Liberals lose. That will be huge. That'll be massive if the Liberals lose. There was a by-election within the last year that was held in Durham riding, which is the eastern edge of the GTA. If you know the Greater Toronto Area, Bowmanville is pretty much the end of the Greater Toronto Area, and this riding goes all the way up to Lake Scugog and Port Perry, Blackstock, that area. So it's a mixture of suburbia and rural. And they elected re-elected a conservative. Their riding was without a representative. The Aaron O'Toole, the leader of the Conservatives, after losing the last election, even though he won the popular vote, he lost the election. Liberals had more seats, so he resigned his seat. And when that happens, like is happening now in this riding of St. Paul's, then there's a by-election, and the Conservatives won that seat with about 60% of the ballot. They got about 60-odd%. I think even maybe more than 60% of the votes were cast for the Conservative candidate. But that's a safe Conservative seat, so it's really not a surprise that they won. This is as safe a Liberal seat as you're going to find in Toronto. And if the Liberals lose it, there will be calls for Trudeau to step down. I'll make the prediction that you will see Liberals calling on Justin Trudeau to step down before he sinks the entire Liberal ship. So hopefully this could be the beginning of the end. This could be the beginning of the end for Justin Trudeau. And typically what would happen is if Trudeau were to resign, then the Liberal Party would have to appoint an interim leader, or Trudeau could continue to lead the party, while they went through the process of picking a new leader. And that would take probably at least 6 months. They would have to have either a leadership convention or mail-in ballots or computerized voting of some description. Candidates would have to run. And who would end up being the leader? Some have talked about Mark Carney, who's the former governor of the Bank of Canada, who's now the governor of the Bank of England. Who knows? Chrystia Freeland. I think if anyone could be worse than Justin Trudeau, it's hard to imagine someone being actually worse than Trudeau, but I think she's probably pretty high up there as to who could be worse. Mark Carney would probably be their best choice. He might be able to save them from being decimated. But would he be willing to get onto a ship that's sinking and try and shore up the holes? Anyway, I've gone over 20 minutes. Tina, thank you for signing in. Thank you for watching. If you want to like this, if you want to give a thumbs up, I always appreciate them. If you want to subscribe, you can. I express what are often considered to be unacceptable fringe views. I supported the trucker convoy. I didn't buy into the lies that were promoted by Trudeau about, what did they say? He said that the protesters were stealing the food from homeless people and that they were desecrating or damaging the war memorial and flying racist flags and things like that. And of course, Trudeau was hiding out in his office because he had COVID and couldn't come out. Anyway, God bless. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on a couple nights. Thanks again, Tina. Cheers.